April 21st, 2025, exactly 4:30 p.m. The skies over eastern Ukraine held their breath. That was the moment the Ukrainian Air Force's F-16 Block 50+, a new symbol of Western power, ignited its engine. But this wasn't just a routine flight. Exactly 27 minutes later, it would obliterate 3,600 tons of Russian ammunition and the entire Shahed drone base in Belgorod, marking a new chapter in modern warfare. In Belgorod, Russia had stationed an S-300 system capable of scanning a 300-kilometer radius. From there, they coordinated waves of Shahed 136 drone strikes targeting Kharkiv and Sumy, while also pinning down Ukrainian Leopard and Bradley units near the border. But every move had been calculated. Ukraine wasn't merely defending, it was setting up a rare counterblow. 2 F-16s armed with JDAMER bombs and AGM-88H ARM missiles. The plan was simple yet daring. Disable Russian radar, then destroy the drone command center and ammunition depot within the same minute, before the swarm of Shahed steel insects could even launch. Each F-16 Block 50+ had just one Pratt & Whitney F-100PW229 engine, but could reach Mach 2. With afterburners, it hit 129 kilonewtons in seconds and climbed at 15,000 feet per minute. But this time, they didn't soar high. The two Ukrainian pilots adopted a nap of the earth tactic, flying just 30 meters above ground at 840 kilometers per hour. At such low altitude, the S-300 radar horizon dropped to only 24 kilometers, effectively blinding it before the F-16s popped up. This was the pop-up toss maneuver, risky but deadly. A mere 3-second radar appearance before releasing payload. One misstep, and Mach 7 Russian missiles would tear through them. Each F-16 carried 3 GBU, 32 JDAMERs, and 1 HARM missile. 8 smart munitions total, nearly 3 tons of explosives. The JDAM-ER wasn't a regular freefall bomb. It glided with foldable carbon fiber wings up to 30 kilometers, smashed through concrete, and detonated inside Russian weapons bunkers. Meanwhile, the AGM-88H ARM, a radar homing missile, could reach Mach 2.5. The moment a Russian radar emitted signals, the HARM would lock on like a guided spear. One missile launched from 150 kilometers to blind the S-300. The second fired right before bomb release to guarantee full radar suppression. Ukrainian intel pinpointed that between 5 and 6 p.m., Russia would launch the next wave of Shahed 136. The control center and ammo depot sat side by side, one in an old train station, the other in a reinforced concrete command post. Both had to be taken out simultaneously. If even one survived, hundreds of kamikaze drones could still take flight. The F-16s took off at 4:47 p.m. from Pritnapovsk Air Base. Within 30 seconds, they descended to treetop level, gliding over fields, slipping through radar shadows. At 4:57 p.m. cockpit time, the GPS targeting screen turned green. It was go time. The two F-16s popped up to 2,400 meters and unleashed the JDAMERs. In the background, 2 HARMs streaked forward like thunderbolts, ripping through Russian radar signals. In less than a minute, the Belgorod base became a sea of fire. The drones hadn't even powered on. They were now ashes. This strike wasn't just about destroying weapons and UAVs. It signaled that Ukraine had entered the modern warfare era, with the F-16 as the sword slicing through Russia's air defense. More importantly, Russia was forced to acknowledge the sky it once dominated now had a challenger. This was a message to the world. In an asymmetric war, technology and boldness can crack open seemingly impenetrable defenses. Unless it adapts fast, Russia will face more devastating blows from the next waves of F-16. Tension gripped the air like a drawn bowstring. At the release point, the long-range release indicator on the HD screen lit up. Everything was in place. The pilot pressed the trigger. Internal bombs deployed in a flash, tripwires activated, compressed tail springs snapped open, and a full load of JDAMERs launched from the aircraft, 6 from the internal pylons, 2 from the outer rails. 8 smart warheads began their glide path. Immediately, the jet executed sharp maneuvers: right bank, left bank, descent. Pulling back to a safe 150-meter altitude, nose pointed toward the Ukrainian border. At this low altitude, the aircraft vanished from enemy radar. The bombs deployed wings, servo flaps switched to GPS correction, gliding at a gentle 40-degree climb before diving at the targets. These weren't free-falling bombs. They soared, navigated, and attacked from angles. They approached the warehouse roofs at a 35-degree incline. The steel-piercing BLU-110 warheads drilled through multiple layers, then delayed detonation created internal pressure, shattering structural integrity. Chain reactions erupted. The central wall collapsed. Grad launchers ignited under shockwaves. One BMP-2M flipped. The Nona turret armor ripped open. One bomb missed by 17 meters but still punctured a fuel tank. 10,000 liters ignited. Flames towered tens of meters. A black-red smoke pillar engulfed the outpost. 2 more JDAMs hit concrete command pillars, burst through the roof, exploded in the server room. Fiber lines, radio systems, control panels incinerated. The ceiling caved in, exits blocked, survivors trapped under rubble. Simultaneously, a Torm-2 radar vehicle lost command link, even outside the blast radius, proof of command chain disruption. The final 2 bombs struck the UAV command center. Explosions triggered cascading failures, annihilating drone controls and launch systems. Within 10 minutes, the damage was clear. Thousands of Grad rockets destroyed, hundreds of mortar shells lost, supply trucks ablaze, multiple IFVs disabled, total loss, tens of millions of dollars, an efficiency shock that rattled Russia's defense planners. The math was simple. 8 JDAM-ER kits were expensive. 2 harms added more. Fuel, engine wear, pilot bonuses, all totaled hundreds of thousands to under $2 million. A small price compared to the destruction and psychological effect. Return on investment? Massive. More crucial than money, the calm after the storm. Supply lines halted for 2 days. Kharkiv's front line saw reduced shelling and fuel shortages. Less artillery, fewer air raid sirens. Families slept better for at least a few nights. That's the true strategic value of a precision strike. What happened in Belgorod proves a harsh reality for any force reliant on static depots. No warehouse is safe from GPS-guided munitions and structural decapitation tactics. A new roof or thicker concrete isn't always the answer. Countering a 454-kilogram BLU-110 with 25 to 30-kilometer glide capability demands resources, labor, and time, all of which are scarce in wartime. Psychologically, it left a shadow. Fear of silent bombs. The unseen threat saps morale, forcing repositioning, adding defense layers, retreating systems, all of which reduce counterattack speed. When every concrete structure within 50 kilometers becomes uninsured, infantry response costs rise, and the front line shifts. After the engines cooled, the technicians ran a quick check. Wings, intakes, sensors, and the jet was ready for another mission within hours. Across the border, Russian commanders unfurled their maps, drew wider no-go zones around JDAM-ER reach, a silent admission that fixed base equals target. The Belgorod strike wasn't just about body count. It was a textbook case of modern warfare, small yet sharp, precise yet devastating, where one pilot's button press can blur front lines and change battlefield tempo. Even as the smoke faded, the border grew quieter. At least until the enemy figures out how to adapt. Ukraine has proven that when infrastructure, technology, and national will converge, even a small, modernized air force can wield strategic impact. Using JDAM-ER to destroy ammo depots and command centers, paired with AGM-88 harms to blind radar, is not just militarily smart, but a clear act of sovereign self-defense, shielding civilians in a prolonged invasion. With limited resources, every F-16 sortie was maximized. The cost of a single mission was offset by the enemy's material losses and, more importantly, by reduced artillery pressure on Ukraine's border towns. This is smart warfare, hitting supply arteries to reduce shelling, protect civilians, and buy time for defensive realignment. Morally, in a war of aggression, it is justifiable to use Allied-provided tools to protect civilians and sever enemy logistics. I stand with Ukraine and support every targeted, precise effort to minimize civilian suffering, strengthen national defense, and hasten the return of peace to a land that has endured too much. In standing with Ukraine, we also stand with the values that define any just society: sovereignty, dignity, and the right to self-determination. No nation should be forced to choose between submission or extinction. Ukraine did not ask for this war, but when the invader came, it chose to resist with courage, creativity, and resilience. What we are witnessing is not just a military conflict. It is a civilizational crossroads. On one side, a people fighting for their homes, their families, and the simple right to live in peace. On the other, an authoritarian regime that sees borders as erasable lines, history as a weapon, and human lives as expendable for empire. The success of a single F-16 sortie may seem like a tactical victory, but symbolically, it's much more. It shows that a smaller nation, with the right tools and righteous cause, can stand toe-to-toe with a nuclear power. It reminds us that freedom, when defended intelligently and decisively, can punch far above its weight. Every JDAM dropped on a weapons depot, every harm that silences a hostile radar, is not just a blow to Russian logistics. It is a signal to the free world. Ukraine refuses to bow. And by supporting them, we affirm that the rule of law, not the law of force, is what must shape the 21st century. Ukraine's fight is not theirs alone. It is a line drawn for all smaller nations who wonder if they would stand alone under threat. It is a message to aggressors everywhere. The world is watching, and the days of unchecked conquest are numbered. Ukraine fights for today, but it inspires a future where might does not equal right. And that's a world worth standing up for. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. The war is far from over, and every small action, a precise strike, a decisive command, or even just sharing the truth, makes a difference. If you believe that truth must be told and justice must be defended, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay updated on every development from the battlefield and the geopolitical chessboard. We'll be back with deeper analysis, untold stories, and hard-earned lessons from the front lines. Because only by understanding the world can we choose the right path forward. See you in the next video, because justice should never be silent.